Traders who have sold Tesla shares short have lost about $6.08 billion on a mark-to-market basis during the electric carmaker's current winning streak, according to the latest data from S3 Partners.
So can it bounce back next year? Roth Capital analyst Craig Irwin joins us now. Craig, good to see you. So do you think Tesla stock could bounce back next year? And if so, by how much?
So I have an $85 price target and a neutral rating. I've had one of the most bearish price targets on this stock now for about 2 years. My thesis has been underpinned by the fact that Toyota makes about an order of magnitude more vehicles than Tesla. There's nothing that Tesla has that Toyota doesn't. But Tesla's been egregiously overvalued. So we have seen the repricing of Tesla throughout the year as competition has incredibly come into the market, as people have understood the outlook for pricing pressure, and the longer-term trajectory where everyone assumed that Tesla would operate in a vacuum hasn't come together. Forget about, robo-taxis and the other daydreams that were out there. The company's been executing, but not nearly as well as the daydreamers. So the lofty valuations come off, and it has to come back to earth.
Investors who sell securities, short, borrow shares and then sell them, expecting the stock to fall so they can buy the shares back at the lower price, return them to the lender and pocket the difference. And Tesla is the largest short in the world, according to the S3's head of predictive analytics, who says $22.43 billion worth of Tesla shares have been sold short.
Gains. Let's bring in Roth Capital's Craig Irwin, $85 price target, neutral rating on the company. What's leading to this surge that we've seen lately, Craig?
So there's two things going on. The first, I would call out that, Tesla's obviously, a very successful company in EVs. EVs are inevitable. They created the market, high quality. It's a darling. People want to own it. So any good news, they want to buy a little bit more, and it's a positive trade. It's a momentum trade. This is bad.
Craig, listen, when you come on with us, I always respect your obstinacy, but $85 price target still. I mean, what's got to happen for you to be right here?
I'm going to be right. So remember,
how do you know you're going to be right? What are you going to be right about? Tell me.
There's about 100 EVs that are coming to market this year, 100 new EV models, and they're going to pressure Tesla significantly to the back end of the year, just like we saw last year, right? Tesla's valued at a massive premium to Toyota. Sells a tiny fraction of the vehicles. They don't have anything that Toyota doesn't already have, right? So what they have is, a focus exclusively on EVs. And they have a story around robo-taxis, but that story is nothing but a story. We're not seeing any taxis anytime soon. Other people could take as aggressive positions in the technology. I, like many, just find it a little bit scary when you have these apparitions in front of you causing false braking, in the FSD system. So, it's a story stock. It's a story stock. People love.
But the story's been out there for a really long.
Even as Tesla's shares have risen, short sellers have been adding to their bets since April. As short sellers were not convinced the long buying price support would continue and a price retracement would be inevitable.
Let's get to Tesla here. The stock soaring 4% today on the back of the GM charging network deal. The EV maker locking in 11 straight days of gains, tying its longest ever winning streak. Last week, the chartmaster said that Tesla was still heading higher. It is now up more than 21% since that call. So is Carter going to say to stay long? Carter, what do you say?
I mean, gosh, who knows? But my hunch is to take some measures. It's not just because it's up 11 sessions in a row. It's up a lot. There's been price discovery, if you will. It's also news related with this sort of joint venture thing going on, or at least collaboration with Ford and GM. But also today, with the gap gapped up at the open, that means there's an unusual buying pressure. Used to be called a late open, of course. We don't have those anymore. But the stock faded and didn't close all that well. So I think it's up maybe a bit ahead of itself. My hunch is to write some calls, to trim, to take some measures. We have two charts. Let's look at them, if you'd like. The first is, perchance, we've retraced, remarkably, exactly half of the peak to trough sell-off. We know that it was $415 at the high, $100 at the low, and here we are at $244, halfway back. The second chart of two, I just try to depict the downtrend line in effect since the high. Does it have to stop on that line? Of course not, but I think you trim.
All right, Carter, thank you. We will see you in just a few minutes on options action. Steve, you took extreme measures when it came to your Tesla position.
I did. So originally, when he had that chart up around $100, I bought my first leg at 105, sold it in the 190s, bought it back above 200, bought it again as it dipped below, and then he alluded to it, or he said it. 11 straight up days. I think the future is extremely bright for Tesla going forward. I think that they have a monopoly in multiple areas within the EV networks. And I just want to see, I want to see it like the overall market. I want to see it come back in a little bit, give me a better entry point. Took my chips off the table. We'll see.
The optimism surrounding the charging network deals with Ford and GM it's tremendous. I mean, Piper had an interesting note saying that Tesla could earn as much as $3 billion over the next 7 years from these agreements, Banu. And I mean, if you liked Apple services revenues, maybe this is sort of the beginning of something like that.
I mean, that you hit the nail on the head. Definitely speaks to recurring revenue, which you definitely like. I think really, the question is about momentum and short-term trading activity. And to the other two previous panelists' point, I just think it's a bit overstretched here. With that said, Tesla just seems to have a mind of its own. This stock could go up another 20%, 30% from this, and I don't think any of us would be surprised. So I think I'm with Carter in that, not that I would be just shorting it here, but if I've already been in, Steve said he's in, he has about $105 cost basis. If I am in there, I'm definitely writing calls if I don't want to sell outright, but I'd probably be taking some cash and looking to deploy it elsewhere.
Yeah, you sold that 105 tranche at 190.
Yes, yes. And just to be clear, I'm out of the name right now. I want to take a look and see how it reacts next week.
Yeah, Guy, next move, higher or lower for Tesla?
You look at Carter's charts. I mean, 50% retracement 1, right up against the downtrend line 2, and we've been in this downtrend for a few years now. It's a pretty significant one. The bounce has been historic. But, I mean, the trade that Steve just put on is fantastic. I mean, wait for better entry point. I don't think this is the entry point to get long.
Traders have shorted 15.3 million new Tesla shares, worth $3.6 billion, in 2023. And in the past 30 days, bearish bets expanded further, with 1.3 million more shares worth $303 million sold short, representing a roughly 1.4% increase even as Tesla's stock price rose 39%. Thanks for watching. Like, share and subscribe.